almost 7-year-old daughter, Corinne.
You may know that the Down syndrome population is very vulnerable. It's being threatened on a daily basis as more and more expecting parents opt for prenatal testing and then choose to terminate their pregnancies upon the discovery of an extra chromosome. Or parents are given a birth diagnosis, as my husband and I were when Faith was born. Oftentimes, parents like myself are left in shock and unaware of the growth in medical science of today, education on what Down syndrome really is, and the social circles of Down syndrome community.
We're here tonight because we know that knowing our society has tended to have an altered perception of beauty and perfection. We feel it's only fair to stand up to some of these persistent myths and stigmas surrounding Down syndrome, because we as parents know that a Down syndrome diagnosis is truly an opportunity to embrace God's gifts. And we know that all people are endowed by their Creator with dignity and the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Individuals with Down syndrome should have an equal opportunity to achieve the universal desired goals of self-fulfillment, pride in their achievements, inclusion in their community, and reaching their fullest potential. The shift from awareness to acceptance begins with us. And with that, we ask that you accept our proposed proclamation recognizing Down Syndrome Awareness Month and the need to open our arms to acceptance of expanding population in our city.
We really appreciate everyone's time tonight and openness, and we'd like to open the floor up to any questions if you have any. Thank you. We look forward to your vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I'm assuming we'll place this on the regular agenda. Okay, thank you again. We have the presentation from ComEd.
Right here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the city for providing us the opportunity to present on behalf of the project there in the city-owned property. We did have a presentation that, unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we are unable to do that right now. But we'd like to think of this as a continuation of the ongoing dialogue and communications we've had with the city over the past few years regarding this project. We were most recently here 2 years ago before the demolition of the site buildings. We're here today to talk about the upcoming cleanup of the project. So I'm going to go into some background information. Last time we met with the city, there was a request to provide some additional background information. So for those that weren't present during our previous meeting, the MGP, it stands for Manufactured Gas Plant. And these were present in the United States from about the mid-19th century, the 1850s, through the 1950s. They were originally developed by local businessmen. They were innovative. They were for entrepreneurs. Basically, they provided gas for street lighting, for cooking and heating, before it became economically viable for natural gas. And that was basically transitioned over in the 1950s. The Lincoln Manufactured Gas Plant was operational from 1873 to 1935, so a little bit over 60 years. Moving along, the primary byproducts of the MGP process was coal tar. It was basically, when the MGPs closed, the coal tar that was stored in underground structures was left in place. Some of this coal tar was reused for the lining of pipes for other industrial uses, but a lot of the coal tar was left in place. And when the MGPs closed, basically these properties, maybe the above ground structures could have been demolished, but a lot of the underground structures remain. So fast forward that, the MGP closed in the 1930s. You fast forward 50, 60, 75 years. Now the utilities, we have a program established, ComEd and NICOR from up in the Chicago area. We have a program established to proactively address these sites. We're working with the Illinois EPA. We enroll these sites in the voluntary site remediation program. The goal is to clean up these sites and to achieve regulatory closure in the form of something called a no further remediation letter. to be issued by the Illinois EPA. So we submit the reports to the Illinois EPA, we submit the work plans, they review, they provide comments, we respond to comments. Ultimately, they approve the work plan, and then we execute what we propose in the work plan, and then prepare a completion report, and then ask for the no further remediation letter. So basically, up until just a couple years ago, we had developed the cleanup plans. Those have been approved by the Illinois EPA. And also, in preparation for the cleanup, a few years ago, we reached out to the city, over 5 years ago, to engage the city in negotiations for an access agreement. One of the positive outcomes of the agreement that we secured with the city was the creation of the off-site alley and street department building located on the outskirts of town. That building was constructed in 2017. The department moved out of the building in October 2017. November 2017, we demolished the buildings. Since that time, we've performed some additional designing for the work. We've been in touch also with the Union Pacific Railroad because we will be cleaning a portion of that parcel as well. So that takes us here today. So starting next Monday, we have a project that we estimate to take about 2 years to clean up. It's basically going to be a mass excavation along the city-owned property, and then an excavation of impacted soils on about a parcel property owned by the Union Pacific Railroad, about a third of a parcel. It's going to be performed in phases. So next week, you're going to see it's going to be mobilization, site prep, okay? We're going to be putting up fences around the property. We're going to have trailers there on the property. We're going to be renting some space from the Logan County Health Department for some additional storage of equipment. But once we mobilize, we'll put the fences up, we'll put some other equipment up, we'll bring in some of the heavy equipment, and then once that preparation is complete within a month, then we're going to start putting in the earth retention system. And the earth retention, we're going to need to excavate down to 35, 40 feet across the site. And so that's going to be installed with some equipment like a vertical mass, with basically a vibratory device to achieve the depths at like 35, 40 feet that we're trying to achieve for the installation of the sheet piles. And then once those sheet piles are installed, then we can perform the actual excavation. The excavation, that'll be done traditional backhoes and bulldozers to restore the site. And along with that too, we are going to be constructing a temporary fabric enclosure. It's going to be like a big white tent to help control the odors there at the site. I'll go into a little bit more depth in a few minutes regarding that. But again, I mean, basically the take-home point is we're going to be excavating a lot of soil. And how are we going to be doing that? We're going to be excavating from the ground. We're going to be loading onto trucks. We're going to cover the trucks. We're going to have an area there on the site. If the trucks are dirty, we're going to clean the trucks before they leave the site. And then basically we're going to be taking the soil off to an off-site landfill disposal facility located in Springfield, and then basically the trucks are going to make a loop, and we can anticipate about 6 trucks per day that are going to be part of the fleet for the work that's going to be occurring. The way that it's going to work out is we're going to work on the Union Pacific parcel first, and then once that work is complete, then we will then mobilize onto the city property. For the UP work, that is going to require a flagger, so that work is going to be kind of slow. It's going to be very methodical. We're going to have to achieve a excavation depth in those areas 25 to 30 feet, and we have to work with the railroad, and we have to make sure we don't impact the railroad, and we have to make sure that our equipment meets a certain clearance distance every time the train goes by. So again, that work's going to be very deliberate, but it might take a little bit of time to get that work accomplished. And then once we complete the work there, then we move on to the city property. The city, once we excavate it, we're going to be backfilling it with clean material. And then for the city property, we've been in communications with the city. It's going to be topped with topsoil and then seeded, and then it'll be restored for beneficial, reuse by the city. The work hours right now we have slated Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. And so that does not preclude the chance of us having to work on Saturdays. We don't plan it, but if we do have delays due to weather, and if the contractors need to catch up, there might be a few Saturdays that they're going to be working. But right now, you can anticipate seeing activity on the site 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. We will maintain security at the site. We'll have the fences up. We're going to have a local security firm that's going to be performing security at the site Monday through Friday during non-work hours and also on the weekends. You know, we have a lot of equipment there. We also don't want people wandering in there falling into an open excavation, if you will. And then we will have site trailers on the site as well. So moving forward, we have a truck route. The truck route, basically, we're going to be entering and exiting the site off of 3rd Street. We discussed with the city back in July about the truck route. We received approval from the city regarding the truck route. It's basically the same truck route we used for the demolition. From this site, we'll exit 3rd Street to the intersection of Sangamon. To the intersection to Decatur, and then head northeast along Sangamon up to Clinton, head northwest at Clinton to 5th, due west to the Lincoln Parkway and south to I-55. And so we will also, to minimize truck traffic around the area, we're going to have an off-site staging facility for the trucks, so they're not sitting there, congesting that area near the school. And again, when the trucks leave the site, they will be cleaned, but if necessary, we will have a street sweeper on standby to clean the streets if necessary. Nearby residents can expect to see equipment there on site. Again, like I said, at the beginning of the project, equipment for the earth retention, and then during the excavation, the heavier equipment for the backhoes and the bulldozers as well. And as part of our MGP program, we have cleaned up over 20 sites in Illinois over the past 20 years. All the sites that we've cleaned up, we've successfully obtained an NFR letter, but one of the goals of the program we have during these cleanups is that we want to minimize disturbance to the community, and we also want to be protective of the community and the nearby residents. So for the work that we're doing, we're going to encounter odors, okay? You're dealing with some coal tar residuals at deeper depths, about 20 to 25 to 30 feet. They're on the UP parcel and on the city-owned parcel. They haven't been exposed to years. Excuse me. They haven't been exposed in years. The last time the plant was operational was 1935. That was almost 100 years ago. So the odor is going to be like a mothball or like a roofing tar odor that you're going to smell. You're going to smell some odors from time to time. We're not going to deny that, but also we're going to try to minimize those odors, okay? We're going to have this temporary structure. It's going to look like kind of like a circus tent, a big white tent, if you will, and it's going to be under negative pressure. What we're going to do is under negative pressure, we're going to take the air underneath the structure, and it's going to go through filters, purify the air before release it into the atmosphere. And then there are other technologies out there. If the odors are noticeable, we can implement basically some foams or some misting equipment to help minimize the odors. Along with that, we have a perimeter air monitoring program. So we'll be collecting real-time data along the perimeter, both Monday through Friday and on weekends during the duration of the project. So the next topic I want to talk about is the public outreach. We have developed a website, and I think the website has a wealth of information on it. I'll provide it to the city when we're done here. We have information cards here as well. HTTP, : 2/, and then lincolnsite.com. And the tabs, I wish I could show it up on the computer screen. It'll have a home page, it'll have a current activities page. We're going to update that as we achieve different milestones through the project. It'll have about MGPs for people that have questions about what an MGP is, about our project, community outreach, and contact information. So we're going to have a website on the website we're going to have an email address for anybody, members of the community, anyone interested in seeking additional information, any comments, any concerns, they can submit an email. They'll receive an automated response, let them notify that we successfully received the email, and we'll respond to their email within 24 to 48 hours. Along with that, we will have contact information for the Illinois EPA. The external affairs individual there, Jay Tim, He's aware of the work that's being performed. We just met with the Illinois PA a couple of weeks ago, notified them well in advance of the work being performed, and they're aware of the website. In addition to that, my coworker Jeff Hetrick and I, we hand-delivered notification letters to local residents, about 50 residents this afternoon. A lot of them weren't home. We knocked on the doors. For those that were home, we explained what we were doing. We provided them with an information letter and also an information card, and we have some information cards to distribute to the city as well for those city employees that have any questions or any other local residents have any questions. They can go to this information card. The information card is actually going to contain a code. You can use it with your smartphone. You can scan it, and it automatically takes you to the website, which I think is going to be helpful. In addition, we do have a repository for all the local reports, for the reports for the site that have been approved by the Illinois EPA. That repository is the Lincoln Public Library. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to present tonight. We're going to be starting next week. It's going to be about a 2-year project. We're excited about the team we have. We have some of the team members here tonight. You're probably going to start seeing some of their faces. There's right now, we're training right now, and I think I was talking to a gentleman tonight. They had 30 to 40 local union employees that were taking the training this week in anticipation of the work that's going to be starting next week. So we're excited about the opportunity to begin the project.
Mr. Keller?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming forward and explaining this process, and
Sure.
also thank you for making a website available, because we, as aldermen, know there's nothing more frustrating for residents than not knowing where to turn to
Sure.
or where to go to for questions. So you explained this process is going to be formed in phases over the next few years. When is the most direct, and how long is the most direct impact to the residents that you are addressing, such as the odor and the noise and all of those? So what part of the process and how long will that happen?
Okay, so when you're talking, you were asking, first component is odor, second component noise.
Correct.
So with the odors, that's going to be occurring as we're excavating the soils. And so the excavation, we think, is going to begin in January of 2020, and that could last up to a year and a half.
And that's generally a daily basis, as you explained?
Yeah. We're going to be excavating. There's going to be odors, and it's going to vary from day to day, and also climate conditions as well. And then noise, with the earth retention installation, that noise is going to be occurring basically the November, December timeframe. I think the goal is to have the earth retention completed by the end of December, beginning of January, and then from there on, it'll be more of the excavation, but you won't hear the vibratory noise, if you will, of trying to advance the sheet piling into the ground. And then once we're doing the excavation, you'll hear the equipment moving, but I think the louder noise is going to be when we install the sheet piling.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Sam, did you have a question?
I do. Thank you for coming and speaking to us.
Sure, glad to help.
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
First off, the noise.
Yeah.
Can you, how loud are we talking? Can you equate it to something?
I would say it's a little bit louder than the train that's going by there.
Okay.
And I think that train, I forget how many decibels the train noise is, but I think we had the demolition. I don't know if it's as loud as the demolition that occurred.
Okay. How constant is this noise? Is it just...
It's going to be intermittent. As they're installing the sheet pile, you'll hear the vibratory machine advance the sheet pile, and then they'll have to stop. And there'll be a break there as they have to readjust the equipment or have to move the equipment to install another sheet piling. And so it's not going to be constant. It'll be, during different durations of maybe, I don't know, half an hour at a time, maybe.
Okay. You mentioned trucks, like 6-7 trucks a day going down a specific route. Do you anticipate any damage to the roads with these trucks?
We don't, but we've spoken with the city, and I think, it's the expectation we will inspect the roads both before and after, at least the roads in
You will?
close proximity, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Beth, and then Chuck and Tracy.
Hi there. I just wanted to say thanks for coming in. You said this big tent is going to be all the way around this, so people won't be like stopping traffic to see what's going on, and they won't be able to see in there, will they? I mean, it's going to be
It's going to be, yeah,
encapsulated.
it's an enclosure. I mean, I wish I had I could,
Is it on? It'll be on the website. Maybe?
it'll be on the website. Yeah, it's on the website. So people that are curious, basically, it's going to be white. It's not going to be on the whole site, but it'll be on the majority of the city-owned property.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Cosmo?
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of observed this process secondhand, but worked in downtown Springfield at the time.
Sure.
They did this on First Street there, just north of the Capitol. I don't know if you were involved with that process.
I wasn't. I believe that was a different utility
Different
company.
utility, but I will say, walking by it, you barely noticed the odor. It really wasn't overwhelming. I thought it was pretty efficiently done, and there was noise, but there's always noise in downtown Springfield, so that's not, it didn't stand out there. It might more so in a neighborhood like where you're going to be doing it, but it really wasn't, at least my perception of it, and I used to walk by it frequently, it really wasn't disruptive to
Yeah.
the area, and it was well contained as a result of that tent.
Yeah, and like I said, we've done over 20 of these cleanups, and I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, we've received that much negative feedback regarding the noise that's generated during these activities.
Mr. Welch?
Yeah, thanks again for coming.
Sure.
Couple questions. So the Carroll Catholic School sits near that site.
That's correct.
Have you talked to the school?
We did, yeah. We sat down with the principal earlier today and discussed the project, similarly to what we're doing right now. And we provided him our contact information, both myself and my coworker Jeff Hedrick. I think he, asked some good questions. And when we were able to follow up with him and basically, I think he might plan to include a link to the website on their website or in the monthly newsletter or something like that as well.
Did you have concerns about noise with students being in class and trying to focus?
He did not raise any concerns about that.
Okay. Second question, so you're going to have heavy equipment in there?
Yep.
Is there any risk to like homeowners' foundations and structures around there from the vibrations of the equipment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a rather robust program, and what we're planning on doing here is we're going to collect vibration data along the perimeter of the site. And in addition to collecting vibration data to verify that we're not impacting off-site properties, we're actually going to collect some vibration data from some off-site properties as well. So we reached out to a few different property owners earlier today, actually, and we are securing an access agreement with those property owners just to kind of protect them and protect us. We're going to collect the vibration data. We're also going to perform a condition survey so we can actually inspect the exterior of the building, interior of the building, photo document it before we do the work, during the work, after the work. That way we're dotting our I's, we're crossing our T's.
Yep, sounds like it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Barrett?
Does the railroad require that as well?
What's that?
The data for the vibration?
They asked that we do collect vibration monitoring data and also deflection monitoring data. So that's going to be collected real time, 24/7 when we're doing work. Yeah.
Just one more quick question. So 6
Sure.
trucks per day. How many trips for the trucks each day?
Right now, I think 3, maybe 4. I think the landfill closes 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so 3 maybe.
18. Okay. 24 trips a day.
Something like that. So if we have 6, I think 3 round trips. I can confirm, but I think that's the number that we're looking at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Horn?
I understand about the odor because it was gas. How long will that stay in the air? Because you're working Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Will it still be there on Sunday for the churchgoers?
No, we don't anticipate that whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't even anticipate that being there later on in the day. Our goal is before we leave the site every day, if there's an open excavation, we're going to try to cover it up, either with soil or with VisQueen. So we try to minimize any odors leaving the site even during the day. And that temporary structure, it's going to be operating 24/7 under negative pressure, and even on weekends as well.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We look forward to it.
Next, we have a presentation from Mr. Grau and Dr. Gerlach. Would you guys like to come forward?
Good evening. I was asked to come here to answer questions in relation to the Lincoln Economic Advancement Development Incorporated. So about a year ago, 10 of your CEOs in this community started meeting, a little over a year ago. Those CEOs are Dolan Dalpas, CEO of Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital, Patrick Doolin, CEO of Integrity Data, Lynn Paulus, business manager, owner of Hotel Ventures Management of Illinois, Incorporated, Steve Offenbaugh, president of State Bank of Lincoln, Chris Grau, general manager of Grau Chevy, Eric Olson, plant manager of Eaton Corporation, Clyde Reynolds, founder, owner of Keystone Risk Management, Eric Burwell, principal of Burwell Management Company and secretary-treasurer, Lynn Bates, owner of Woods and Bates, PC, and David Gerlach, president at Lincoln College. And we looked at the current conditions in the community. We were alarmed, as I'm sure all of you were, concerning the loss of businesses here in the community. We sought opinions from experts, local and a bit far away. We had the mayor and Beth in to talk to them. We ultimately, after at least 8 or 10 meetings, decided to take action, and at this point we've raised $152,000 in private commitments, pledges. It is our intent to we have formed the LEAD Inc., Lincoln Economic Advancement Development Incorporated. We will be filing for our 501c3 status. We will we have engaged in a consultant. The consultant will be interviewing business owners, community leaders over the next 120 days. They will help advise this private group as to what Lincoln has determined as the definition of economic development. They will then also advise us to the qualities of a CEO. We will hire a CEO. We have received in-kind donations already, pledges to those in-kind donations, and it is our intent that this private organization that is supported through donations locally will help transform the economy here in Lincoln. From my perspective, it started when about a little over a year ago, I was reading a book that was documenting the life of John Quincy Adams. And there was a commentary in the newspaper that said, who will fill the void of the loss of economic development in this community? And Adams said, we the people. And so I reached out to a number of we the people, and we the people are working to address the decline in and loss of business in the community. With that, I'll see if my good friend Chris has anything to add, and then we'll open up for questions. But ultimately, we're here for a simple letter of support from you, the city leaders, in support of this organization to help make a difference in this community. Chris?
I'd like to commend Dave Gerlach at his efforts. It was his idea and his effort to bring this group together, and it's nice to get together with this group of people because everybody that's in this group or on this committee has a genuine concern and a want to make Lincoln a better place to live and a place where people will want to bring their families, raise their families, and hopefully do business. And we've all seen the repeated news stories about different things happening in town, different businesses leaving, different businesses closing, and we want to try to stop that. And we're not here seeking any kind of financial assistance. We have enough really, really serious contenders here that have made a commitment, 3-year commitment to make this thing go. And there are some pretty healthy commitments amongst this group that we're going to make this thing viable. We're going to have enough funds behind us to be able to hire a quality person that's really going to be able to articulate and talk to prospects. And when somebody calls and says, I'm looking for a warehouse, I'm looking for a building, I'm looking for a place to start a business, we have somebody that can answer those questions and present what we have in inventory here in Lincoln and Logan County and hopefully be a benefit to everybody that's here. So, Dave, I think you deserve a round of applause. That's when everybody claps for Dave. A round of applause for Dave for bringing this together. It's been a great group to get together. We're getting together about once a month. Not everybody's able to make it to every meeting, but it's been a very, very good experience. It's open door. If anybody wants to come and attend a meeting, there's no hidden agenda. There's no secret code to get in. If you want to come to a meeting, just let one of the members know. We'll let you know when the next meeting is. You can certainly come and listen in to see what we've got going. Thank you very much. We hope we can count on your support.
Mrs. Schmidt and Mr. Keller.
I just want to say thank you. Can't thank you enough. And thank you for being proactive and going for it, and we the people, and we're just really excited to stand with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I second Kathy Schmidt's remarks. We as government can only do so much. People look to us for government, but it is the citizens and citizens who step up, and I'm just going to say citizens with money who step up that can make a difference. And absent of a chamber, economic development, I think, is necessary. So I know that you're still in the very early stages of this, and it's in its infancy, and I know you're going to hire a consultant and a CEO to help drive some decision making, but I would suspect that you already have in your own mind's eye some projects or initiatives that you would like to see happen. So could you speak to that? What are some things? What's your vision specifically on how that community might grow? And also then how you would take the money. Would this be a grant sponsorship? Would this be an endowed fund which you would borrow from? How does this all work, brass tacks a little bit more?
Well, the way we define economic development, we as the steering group, now the board of directors, we have our ideas. We've kicked out a number of them. Could be hotel stays, could be added businesses, could be retained businesses, could be education of workforce. It could be a wide variety of things. And so the consultant that we have hired will help have that further informed by the interviews that they're going to do in the community. And so, beyond the memo that I sent to the mayor, I'm not sure we as a group have gone much further than that. So at this point, we have a $60,000 commitment for the consultant. We have $92,000 in pledges by the business leaders within this, times 3 years. So that's 92, 92, 92, with the goal of $150,000 a year. And so the things I stated in the memo, as you all, I assume, read, promoting purpose to strengthen Lincoln's economy by working with current employers to retain employment and by promoting opportunities for new employment and entrepreneurship. 2, obtain the 501c3 tax exempt status. 3, retain an experienced consultant to help establish baseline data. Strategic measures of success and the qualities of an effective executive director. 4, initiate a search for a full-time leader for the new organization. 5, establish a headquarters. And 6, secure 3-year financial pledges totaling at least $150,000. So we've done this in a very organic way, and a lot of listening, a lot of talking, a lot of exploring, a lot of looking at what other successful communities have done. And I won't call it a win, but we've already been reached out to by an individual wanting to center a business here. I spoke personally to the Christian Homes after their moving their leadership out of Lincoln. I will meet with that individual along the road, but simply put, somebody has to wear a hat. Somebody has to be there to answer a call. Somebody has to be driving a website that will allow people to look in as to what this community has to offer. This community is an amazing community. We have all of the high marks of what one would want. High-speed rail, we have highway, we have digital pathways, we have inventory. We have a workforce, I think, in this community ready to continue to work. And so, long answer to your short question, sorry.
Actually, no, that was very good. I think that the more information I think that we have, and the more information you make available during this whole process, I think will benefit us and benefit the entire community. So we look forward to more information as it progresses. Thank you.
Just to react to that, we are all experts in running our own companies, and so we're all putting in about 10% or whatever we can into this effort, and we haven't thought it fully through. And we probably should have had a press release before the announcement went out. We probably should have had, but, we're building as we go. So, other questions?
Ms. Barrett?
Yeah, 2 thank yous. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for not coming to the city and asking for money. Appreciate that. As you know, the fiscal condition always of the city is a difficult thing. Can you speak a little bit for the letter of support that you're inquiring from the city, and just for our audience, what that letter of support is going to do and who is it going towards?
It's specifically for the IRS 501c3 submission. A letter of support would ultimately show that you're behind this effort we think it's a good idea that this group of business leaders is leading this effort for our community.
Thank you.
Schmidt?
Are they difficult to get?
It can be challenging. It can be challenging. And to be honest with you, every one of the CEOs who donated made pledges, 3-year pledges, recognize that we may not have the 501c3 status. That's how much they believe in wanting to support this. Okay, if it can't support my taxes, I'm still doing this commitment.
I guarantee you there's nobody on the committee that looked at this as a tax break. Let's join this committee and donate this money because we're going to get some tax money back. It's for the good of the community. That's really why we want to do it. And just being able to have somebody that's going to work for this organization with the intent to represent Lincoln and Logan County and encourage business to come to town is going to be a benefit for everybody. We have to have somebody that's ready to take the phone call, to answer the email, to take people out to show them the sites, and be able to work this plan, hang our shingle out so that people know we're in business, we want to invite business to come in.
Is that the consultant?
No, we will not.
Director?
We will hire an executive director. We have a job description that we stole from another city economic development group, but the consultant will advise us as to the qualities that would be beneficial for us to look at. I think we're going to pay a decent salary. A majority of the money that we're raising is to support this person's salary. So, And Steve, one side comment about coming to you for money, I wouldn't dare ask the city for money when you're not even running your blowers and you're putting us on the hot seat here with no air in the room.
That's on purpose.
I figured.
I'm trying to take care of that.
We got the air on over there yet? Mr. Welch?
Well, I would say thank you for coming and bringing this before us. I know it takes a lot of effort, having sat through some similar initiatives in the past. I'm sure you guys have had the discussion about the skepticism that's going to come with this and the hurdles that you're going to have to face to make it happen. But I think perhaps the piece, and it might have been in your email, is that the difference might be that government is stepping aside now and allowing a private group of individuals to take this on. And so I'm anxious to see what the success is of this group and support you moving forward.
I would just react that, I've only been in the community, this is my 5th year, and I am so very impressed with this community, with what it has to offer, with its centeredness around so many larger communities. And this is a great place, and yet there seems to be that dust cloud, Charlie Brown cartoon kid that goes over this city, and we need to shake it off. And this is a great place of many opportunities, and that doubt, that sense of there's something hidden here. No. These are CEOs that want good employees, that want further employment, that want higher tax revenue to support this growing, wonderful place that once, yes, way back when, used to be something special in everybody's mind. Well, it still is. And so we as a group are passionate. And I think you all are also. And so we're going to fumble. And we're going to struggle, but we're going to be successful.
Any other comments or questions?
I would encourage anybody on the city council to come to one of our meetings and just kind of come sit in, bring a list of questions, just sit and listen, and you'll. I think there's just a wealth of power and good ideas that are coming from this, and it's going to be really neat when this thing gets rolling. It's going to be very, very good for the community.
When's your next meeting?
We don't have one scheduled. We just had one with the consultants. They are working with our students at Lincoln College for our students to participate in these business interviews, which is very exciting. We have a community ask letter that will be going out. If the Lincoln College president was on his game, he would have had it out by now, but he's running a little behind. But that ask letter will look for community members to support this in a 3-year pledge commitment. And so I imagine within a month we'll have another meeting, probably an update from the consultants how their interviews are going. Those interviews have to get scheduled, though, at this point.
So as those meetings get scheduled, can you just send those to the mayor or Beth and have them distribute to us? And then
Sure.
we can contact you and we can attend. Please.
There was a funny moment at the dinner that the president hosted with some of you, with your esteemed attorney, making sure you don't violate public meeting laws. And so I give kudos to John, Lincoln College graduate over there.
Jeff, did you have a question?
No.
No, okay. Got it. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, thank you both
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Put this on.
The Yankees lost.
No.
Yeah, they lost. They're still in it, though.
I think I'm sad about
Okay.
the Yankees losing.
Yeah.
So is everyone okay if we put the support letter on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, we'll place that on the regular agenda. Thanks, Chuck. Moving down to the IEPA item. Christy, do you want to talk? If not, you're going to.
It will be brief.
The only reason that I'm here is we're basically ready on the CSO improvements at the plant to submit the EPA permit for construction, and we need the mayor to be able to sign those documents. I don't want anybody to get too terribly excited. I anticipate it being a 2 to 3 month turnaround to get that permit, which is why there's kind of this sense of urgency to go ahead and get this turned around and get it signed so we can continue to move forward. Is that quick enough for you?
That was good.
Perfect.
Anyone have any questions for her? Okay to place that on the agenda? Okay, thank you very much.
Brief.
Moving down to the request to permit golf carts, Mr. Brad Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I just come tonight to possibly ask if about golf carts or UTVs on the roads. You know, there's several cities around us, Atlanta, Petersburg. They all have golf cart laws. The state of Illinois has put out their list or what their rules and regulations of just, you know, have requirements for golf carts or permits, ways to make revenue for, you know, each golf cart, you know, just something to, another way to make revenue, I guess, and also to have, you know, access to some, because I know some of them are allowed when, I guess, during certain events, and so I don't know if, you know, if it's something to think about. It's possible. Any questions, or?
Tracy and Ron?
Thanks for coming, Brad. This is a topic that I've heard multiple times in my time on the council, and it just has never come to the floor. In your request, you say specific roads. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and I had done some research here a couple of years back, and I had spoke with somebody, and I know we cannot find it on the law books, but we have looked. Several years ago, when I looked at this, the roadways were 30 miles an hour and under, but it did specifically say here in Lincoln, no Fifth Street, no Woodlawn, no Lincoln Parkway, and Woodlawn Keokuk Parkway, those main roads like that, and anything under 30 miles an hour. So that's...
So pretty much not the main roads.
Right. I mean, basically, yeah, you got to stay off the big, busy roads, and, you know, I mean, obviously you'll be able to cross them somehow, but, yeah, you're not be able to drive down them, no.
So you said you did some research. Do you have documentation that you can share with us?
Yes, I didn't know. I had sent some in. I didn't know if Beth had maybe printed it out. I'm sorry, I didn't.
You can send it afterwards, just so that we
Yeah,
can...
I mean, I just printed off some low-speed vehicles. One's for Atlanta, one's for Petersburg. They just, you know, all the requirements for the state. They're legal, you know.
Well, their laws and ordinances.
Yeah, their laws, basically, that, yes, but I can get those all forwarded to anybody or whoever.
Ron, or Tracy?
No, I'm done. Thank
Ron, Matt, Kathy?
My first question was similar to what Alderman Welch asked. So as far as what you've researched other cities do, are there curfews?
Yes, there's...
Okay, so could you explain that a little bit?
Curfews, there's also you have to have a driver's license, 16 years of age, full coverage insurance, the time limits, you know, and the carts themselves will have, you know, you have to have headlights, taillights, brake lights. The main thing is the slow-moving vehicle sign. That's kind of the whole idea of the low-speed vehicle.
Follow-up question I have. Our Deputy Chief of Police is here. I didn't know if you had any concerns as far as policing, safety concerns. Matt, anything you want to address there?
Paul and I have talked about it extensively. From these two sets of eyes, we live in a very, very restrictive world as it is already. And I know from surrounding states, such as Michigan, they allow ATV and UTVs on roads and highways, and they sell permits to the tune of $40 million a year, $25 each. In the state of Michigan, if you want to travel on your ATV or UTV and you need to cross a bridge, you can call ahead to the local police department and they will give you an escort across that bridge. I have friends in Michigan who put about 30,000 miles a year on their ATVs. I think Paul and I have conferred, and we are in agreement that as long as we do this promptly, or not promptly, but comprehensively, and we plan well enough, that we can get this done. The law, Brad, you're looking for is contained in the Illinois Vehicle Code,
Yes, I think that's in here, yes.
and I can provide that for you. We read it today. It can't be on any roads that are 35 miles an hour or more. State highways, which would eliminate Woodlawn, Keokuk, Limit, Route 10, Route 121, Lincoln Parkway, the business loop through town, which would be 5th Street, Logan Street, Kickapoo Street. However, the law does stipulate that you can cross them so long as it's done in a safe and efficient manner. There are requirements contained within the Illinois Vehicle Code. They have to have headlights, turn signals, some sort of mirror that you can see behind you. Slow-moving vehicle sign is suggested. They do have to be insured. Brad's correct about that. And just based on my experience from visiting other communities that do this, yes, there should be a curfew. Yes, it starts at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Yes, we should probably sign it, put some sort of signage through town that, hey, you might run into a golf cart.
What about impairment?
Impairment laws would
Laws
fall
still
under the
apply.
Illinois Vehicle Code just like they do if you rent a vehicle. The only thing that we cannot issue a DUI, if I don't want to be mistaken, because it's been a while, but we can't give a DUI on a horse. That's it.
I think we're good.
So obviously, they have to comply.
Right.
Everything that's contained in the Illinois Vehicle Code, they would have to follow. From our perspective, let's try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, hey, we got a little more freedom.
Thank you. Kathy Schmidt?
I guess I've just never heard of this before. Is it for older people or what? I mean,
Anybody?
but because it's cheaper than a car or?
Mm-hmm. Or they can be electric. Golf carts are electric.
I live out by, on 5th Street by the golf course. And I want to tell you.
You see a lot of them.
And it's very dangerous. Well, Memorial Park Drive is dangerous anyway. There's no sidewalks and yeah. Okay.
But they are all out there. I mean, if you go out there, it's common. I mean, they are on the streets out there.
They definitely.
I mean, they are. I mean,
And they're usually kids.
I'm not asking for kids, I'm asking for the city.
But here's the thing, if it's not policed, you got kids running all over the city, if it's not policed.
No, they would have to, it would be policed.
A lot of times we have laws and they're not, so that's just really important for kids.
I think
They don't
driver's
get on
license
them.
is a good requirement. I mean, 16, I don't know if you want to go 18. I mean, that's, it'll be up to you, the council. But the minimum, I'd say the driver's license for sure.
Tracy?
So a question for the deputy chief, and I don't want to muddy the waters here, but since we're talking about other motorized vehicles on the streets and potentially allowing them, should we also address the motorized bicycles that are used on the streets
That
while
too.
we're addressing this ordinance?
That too is contained in the Illinois Vehicle Code, and they too have statutes that they have to abide by. The motorized bicycles are allowed. You don't have to have a driver's license. They are not allowed travel over 20 miles per hour, and they too are to abide by all of the traffic laws.
State routes? Are they restricted from state routes?
No, they're not, because they're not considered a motor vehicle, and they're not titled.
Kathy?
So you don't have to have a driver's license to drive those?
Not a motorized bicycle.
What about these? And you wouldn't have to have a driver's license
Yes,
either?
we could do that.
Saying yes, just for the kid factor. I mean, you know what I mean?
That would take care of that.
Yes.
For the golf carts.
Mhm. Absolutely, I would make that a requirement. A valid driver's license.
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
So, since a lot of this is addressed in the Illinois Vehicle Code, though, if we do, as a city, pursue this, I'm assuming, would we need an ordinance to stiffen up our requirements as a city?
That's what it stipulates in the Illinois Vehicle.
Correct, okay, all right.
You can pass that via city ordinance if you choose to do so. For the golf carts.
How much did you say people were paying to be able to do this?
Michigan, I think it's a $25 permit, and there's so many permits in the state of Michigan that I think the regulatory branch of government raises to the tune of $40 million a year through that permitting process. So that tells you how many ATVs and snowmobiles and the like are in the state of Michigan.
Mr. Condon?
Thank you, Mayor. Would you know offhand if the city would be allowed to do that, to collect a permit fee for those?
I would say yes, because it's not stipulated in the Illinois Vehicle Code. You are passing it by ordinance.
Yeah, there's other towns that actually require they get a permit, so.
Do you know about how much they're charging?
This one here says $19 to $30, so I mean, I think that's Petersburg. Low tile speed vehicle is $30, and the annual registration cost is $19. So you get a one-time fee, a bigger fee, and then like a car sticker, you know, yeah.
Annual.
Yeah, they're an annual, yeah.
Kathy?
I think, like you said, if it doesn't work, we can change it. But I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like the drivers in Lincoln are, I don't know if it's gone downhill everywhere, but
It's everywhere.
I mean, people pull out before you even get by and turn, and I mean, it's amazed me. And to me, it's a bit of a worry with those, but not if kids are on them. It makes it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, adults, obviously.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Sam?
Just a ballpark guess. How fast do these things go?
Well, that's the other thing. They're requiring a minimum of 20 miles an hour.
A minimum.
But then again, they have a speed. You got to follow speed limits too. I mean, you can't go, 40 and 30, obviously, on those. But you need a minimum of some are requiring a minimum of 20 miles per hour, just so you're not so slow that you're impairing traffic or.
Okay, so. Okay, thank you.
Questions or?
Have Mr.
Right,
Howell
John?
do some research.
It sounds like to me that in order to do the requisite ordinance as necessary, if the council feels that they want to, that there's the number of parameters that need to be outlined, most notably the hours of operation for the vehicles, registration fees and permit fees along that nature. I know there was issues about other municipalities, but quite frankly, it seems like maybe those other municipalities were a bit smaller than ours, so there might be some other considerations that need to be factored into as well. I don't know if it's necessarily ripe to be put on a voting meeting at this point in time, but it's nice to talk about it.
Mr. Keller?
Well, I was going to say, I think this behooves us to do a little bit more research. I don't think, obviously, the next voting meeting, I think it will be a little bit too soon, but I certainly would. I think if I read the pleasure of the council, I think we do want our city attorney to do a little bit more research and pursue this further.
Okay, we'll look into that further and bring it back. Thanks for bringing it to the table.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Next, we have the trick-or-treat hours on Thursday, October 31st, 2019, from 5 to 8 p.m. within the city of Lincoln. Place that on the consent agenda? Okay. Request to permit City of Lincoln block party at 145 10th Street, 4:30 to 8 p.m., Thursday, October 31st, 2019, with a block of 200 10th and Chestnut Street to Union Street block for the trick-or-treat party submitted by Don and Jan Seeloff, and this is a recurring event. So,
Consent.
okay, consent agenda. Request to permit Logan County Tourism's annual Downtown Christmas Parade on Thursday, December 5th, 2019, submitted by Morgan Gleason, Executive Director of the Tourism Bureau.
Same.
Okay, consent agenda. 11 we've already done. Next, moving down to 12, the mayoral appointment of City Treasurer Chuck Conzo and Fire Inspector Tim Aper. Also need to add to this the appointment of Bill Gandolfi from the Street Department to the city's Employees Management Insurance Agency Committee in order to comply with labor union contract requirements. Regular agenda. Mr. Welch.
Do we do mayoral appointments for Chuck as an elected official?
Yes, I've been appointed to the Police Pension Committee, or Police Pension Board and the Fire Pension Board, even though I'm City Treasurer. To be on those boards as a voting member, I had to be appointed and confirmed by the council.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of similar to when we appoint you guys to different committees too, right? So, yeah. Okay, so is everyone okay with that? Regular agenda? Okay. Final pay request with change orders for completion of Jefferson Street Bridge project.
Yes, the construction is complete. Everything has been completed there. We still have we'll do a walkthrough and work over punch list items, but as far as the completion, it's done, open, so people are using it. It's a nice, smooth road. Looks good. The grading and everything's been done, and it's just, that's a big improvement. We received the final pay request. The first pay request was for $203,123.50. At that time, I did make you aware of some change orders that would probably be coming our way. Initially, the contractor was looking for an additional $19,136.23. In reviewing that and going over it with Joe Adams and Jim Winkler with Farnsworth, we felt that that was not all our fault, that there was some of that should be removed. So we came to an actual for a change order of $9,649.70 to bring the total to $424,113.88. The extra cost was due to some structure that was left from the previous bridge, so there was removal that needed to be done that was not covered under the contract, and then also the removal of that debris. And then there was some drainage problems where a French drain had to be put in to redirect some water. So that's the additional $9,000, $9,649.70. We had budgeted $420,000 for the project. If the council sees fit, we have additional savings and resurfacing. There's money in the account to go ahead and pick up that extra $9,000 in change order. So we're asking for approval of that to be put on the payment of bills.
Questions, discussion? Go ahead and place on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Thanks, Walt. We'll place that on the regular agenda. Calendar year 2020, City of Lincoln, Illinois, regular City Council and Committee of the Whole City Council meeting schedule.
Consent agenda.
Place that on the consent agenda. City of Lincoln, Illinois, holidays to be observed in calendar year 2020. Same thing. Consent agenda. Okay, bid letting process to commence for a sale of city's property located, and I want to verify this, I believe it's Pekin Street instead of Broadwell Drive in Lincoln, Illinois. So that should read Pekin Street. This is the ground, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, next to the street and alley department that Illinois American Water is interested in. So, any discussion, questions on that? Place that on the regular agenda. Okay. Regular agenda, again, it's Pekin Street instead of Broadwell Drive. Discussion of referendum regarding the City of Lincoln Civil Service Commission.
Sorry, I'm still looking.
That's okay.
All righty. I've been doing some additional research in association for the Civil Service Commission. Last time we were here, I indicated there was some difficulties proceeding forward. I was able to locate some municipalities that have deviated from the Civil Service Commission. Furthermore, before moving forward, I wanted to find at least a statutory authority before moving as such. I don't like to simply just say we can do this based upon some other communities have done it, because that doesn't necessarily mean that other communities have done it properly. But having said that, I have found the statutory citing authority and various case law that allows us to actually do this, and it would be, as we suspected earlier, a referendum that would in essence abolish the Civil Service Commission in Lincoln and set up a panel, or has to set up a form thereafter. As noted, I think I indicated previously, the Civil Service Commission does provide us some forms of protection. There would be heightened scrutiny to the city, especially for their hiring practices thereafter. Most notably, the EEOC for their would be analyzing us, and that's a federal aspect, would be analyzing us based on our hiring, and the Illinois Department of Human Rights would also probably have some heightened scrutiny to us for our hiring practices and the way we combat those. That has to have a set procedure and rules that we follow. Some municipalities have fallen into a trap where they'll just hire whoever they want to hire and not have any basis or reasoning for that, or how they got to that particular juncture. So that essentially avails yourself to liability, and it wouldn't happen, say, tomorrow or the next day or the day thereafter, but it could be 15 years from now. They come in and they want to hear all about your hiring practices for the last number of years, in which case you could find yourself in a lot of hot water. So it's imperative that if the city decides if they want to move forward with this, that they move forward at a pace that is not exactly fast, and that everything is set in place before you actually take that dive. And keep in mind, it wouldn't be necessarily up to the council's choice. It would be just up to the choice of the council to put it on the referendum via vote. Given the fact that we have a vote coming up here soon, I doubt that it would be prudent to put it on at this particular juncture. If Mr. Landers wants to speak in regards to this at all, I just don't think it'd be prudent this time. There needs to be, this is the type of thing you want to have your I's dotted and your T's crossed before you kind of do this. You want to have what you're envisioning, you want to be set in place before you actually move forward with any vote, or actually put any vote out there.
Yes, I completely agree with Mr. Hobbit. I feel that we need to have our processes in place and make sure that they align with the different authorities, so we make sure that we do everything correctly. So it's not something I would be hasty about. It needs to be a well thought out and organized directive to make sure that we get it done right the first time.
Mr. Keller.
So when you say that we shouldn't move on this for the next election, you're talking the primary, right? So this could potentially be ready, obviously, for the November 2020 general election. Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, if we are apt and are able to get, what we envision in place. That is, if that's what the council wants to do. Now the council will vote as to whether or not it wants to go to the referendum. So if we come up with something, and the council is obviously not, they think that the protections of the Civil Service Commission outweigh what we're desiring to do, then obviously it wouldn't need to go to that far. But having said that, yes, it could potentially be ready by then. It might not be. We're kind of in the beginning process here. This might take a year or so to iron out, but I mean, hopefully less than that.
Mr. Conzo?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing. I was on the Civil Service Commission for several years, and one of the things we enacted during that time was the addition or updating of the veterans' preference. That did exist prior to that time, but I think it ended with the Korean War. So virtually anybody who was applying for a job would have been younger than that. That veterans preference did not include, for example, Vietnam veterans and other veterans who served later than that. Whatever you do with this, my point is, whatever you do with this, I would hope you would find a way to, even without the Civil Service Commission, but find a way to preserve that veterans preference in the whatever ordinance that you adopt to replace it.
Mr. Howlett.
One of the things that was, when this was first brought up is that was one of the first things I did make note, is that I hope we're not going to tamper with any type of veteran preference, because that is very important, and I highly doubt that it would come to that.
Discussion, questions?
How many people do we have on that commission right now?
I say I think there's 3. Anything further on that topic? Okay. Discussion to make South Logan Street between Clinton and Decatur Streets into a one-way street going north. Mr. Welch?
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I was contacted by a constituent, made aware of a situation that took place at the intersection of Fifth Street, Logan, and Decatur Street. It's the curve that goes from Logan to Fifth Street, sits there on the corner where Stuffteria is and AAA. In that particular incident, there was a car traveling south on Logan Street. And as you know, when you come around that curve, you've got oncoming traffic from Fifth Street coming at you. The individual didn't look to their right. They shot across the intersection, caused other cars to stop rather abruptly. Of greater concern was a child that was in the intersection at the time that fell off their bike and could have been severely injured if one of those vehicles had veered off course or gone in the wrong direction. So this prompted me to send an email to Chief Adams, and I believe I copied the mayor and the city administrator on this, and I asked them if now is perhaps the time that we bring this topic back up for discussion. I know it's been discussed, but never among the council themselves, and I think that particular incident warrants a discussion. I think I'd also like the deputy chief and Mr. Landers to weigh in on this as well, as I know they had a conversation about that.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
You said they're on Logan Street heading south.
Correct. Coming from Broadway.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Kathy Horn.
Yes, when I was in Ward 2, this was brought up by me. My son at that time was driving a cement truck, and when he got to the intersection there by AA siding, if they're parked in front of there, you can't see. And he was in a cement truck, and you couldn't see if anything was coming. And I had talked to Father Lively at the time, and he was off, it was okay. There's only one house besides the church and the priest's house, the rectory, that is on that street, and that house uses the garage in the back, so they don't use that, and it wouldn't affect them.
Tracy.
Alderman Horn brings up a good point. In this particular incident that happened, the witnesses suspected that it was a high school student that was trying to get to school who blew this intersection without looking. They also stated that when they went down to the stop sign, which is there at the corner of the church where the church and the school is as well, that they did not come to a stop and they rolled right through it as well. So presents another safety issue for the students of Carroll Catholic as well by keeping that situation.
Well,
I feel that if we're going to take any action, it needs to be shut down completely. I don't think making it a one-way, you're just eliminating one situation, but you still have another. So I think if we're going to take any action at all, then we need to shut the street down completely.
Ron and Sam.
So when there are funeral processions, do they line up on Logan heading a particular direction, or weddings or anything? Do we know?
They line up going towards the school.
So they don't line up on Logan?
They line up on Logan.
They line up Logan heading
But
towards
the school. They go around.
Decatur?
Yeah. They go around up to Maple Street and then down Fifth Street.
Okay. Thank you.
Sam, and
Do we know or can we find out how much traffic that road gets? The speed monitors track how many cars, count cars, correct? Can we put something there for?
We have our traffic signal that we can put on that street.
I'd like to know that, like how much that street is used before we close something down or make a change.
I think I would follow up with that by saying, though, that the number of cars that are going on that street are perhaps the cars that we don't want on that street. So I know for a fact, having been, as we all do, having been in high school, that that's a main road for people to use that are trying to get to school. And I think that in this particular instance was one of them. The deputy chief can speak more to it, but I know when I talk to the chief, there are also situations where people from out of town are coming south on Logan Street, and if it's in inclement weather and they're not familiar with it, they actually will go straight through that intersection because there's nothing to tell them that it turns right or it curves.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another safety issue.
It's
I would let the
probably-
deputy chief elaborate on that, though.
It's probably not the safest intersection in town. I'll give you that. Is there any other options? I don't know, a light or something. I mean, what else? Is there any other options?
So the way this happened is that when I sent the email, I was trying to think a little bit conservative in that instead of just completely shutting it down, that's why it's on the agenda as a one-way. So that we at least allowed northbound traffic to go to the intersection, but not southbound traffic to come out of the intersection. After some discussions with Paul and Walt about this, though, there's still an issue when people are trying to get northbound on there into that busy five-way intersection. So there's still a safety concern, and what we all ended up at is if per this document that I've given you guys where the red line is, if that can be barricaded off and that street then becomes a dead-end street, from the intersection's perspective, we can put signage that indicates left and right, regardless of which way you're coming. But that would be a dead-end street for people coming from the school so that the homeowner there could get to there if they wanted to. The church also owns property there, and they may want to use that for, as Alderman Keller said, funeral procession lineups and things of that nature. So it creates a safety component for the intersection, but it also leaves it operational for those people that use the road there for operations of the church and or property.
okay. Fire Chief, Kathy, Jeff.
The church has already made concessions to, when they put the new building up there, the pantry or whatever it is, they're using the alleyway and a driveway that's across the back for the funeral processions. The last couple that they've had there, they haven't even lined up in the street anymore, so they're using the alleyway.
Kathy,
If you close that street, a part of Logan Street, it really wouldn't matter because there's another, a half a block away, there's another street that you could use.
Jeff.
I envision if that's being closed, cars coming down going north on Logan in front of the church, they're just going to turn and cut through that parking lot to access over to, no.
This one on the corner?
Right.
So I shared this with Walt in an earlier meeting we had prior to council, and he believes that this map is not completely up to date and that entrance may not be there. Is that correct?
That is correct. with the new food pantry and stuff that they've put there, that parking lot has been revamped. I can't guarantee you because I haven't really stopped and looked at it, but it's the parking lot is much larger for one thing. Right. So as far as storage for vehicles for weddings and funerals and that such, they have a lot more room. But I'm not sure about the access to that parking lot off of South Logan Street. I'd have to go look at that to make sure. Paul sent an email out earlier, and it does have some traffic counts on it. He must have had some access to IDOT traffic counts. So he says it appears traveling Logan Street to Fifth Street, there's 6,450 cars. Fifth Street is 9,150. And Clinton is 3,550. And then it says for South Logan, it's 375. Now, I'm not actually sure where he got that information at. I'm just reading it off of his email. And the context of it is I'm not exactly sure about either.
Jeff?
I just think before we do any action, I think we really need to have some sort of conversation with the church to make sure that they understand our concerns and what their options are that they have, maybe. I just don't want a dead end of street for, access.
I would agree.
Okay.
Mr. Heineke, not long after Paul and I were appointed, we had that conversation with Father Lively, and he's in favor of it. We presented the options, and we highly recommend that being closed off, and he was in favor. Now, that was 4 years ago. It probably wouldn't hurt to revisit, but he was in favor of it back then. Our recommendation is to close it off.
Beth?
Do we have to have a public hearing for that? Attorney? City attorney?
Not exactly apprised that, Miss City Administrator, but I will look into it.
Well,
Another thing that might be a consideration that it's adjacent to a state route, that there could be some hoops that we might have to jump through on that case.
Matt?
My other suggestion would be, and it would be up to this council, if you do approach this closing, my other recommendation would be, along with that closure, would be allocate no parking on Logan Street in front of A&A or AAA siding. To clear that intersection of all obstructions.
Could you repeat that, Matt?
Pardon me?
Repeat that, Matt.
I would suggest also when you visit this, to eliminate the parking area in front of AAA siding and windows along adjacent to Logan Street, that parking area that's between the street and the building, where they have a tendency of parking large trucks blocking the view of southbound traffic on Logan.
So is that a conversation that we need to have with them as well?
I would.
Kathy Schmidt?
I spoke with Paul not long after I got on the council about that because it's so dangerous. He acted like there was no way we could get them to stop doing that. So I don't know, but he was.
The way I'm sorry to interrupt. The way I see it would be up to the council.
It's super dangerous. You can't see it all. And I'm really surprised there hasn't been an accident yet.
Jeff?
The times I drive past, I do understand that there's the vehicles parked or whatever, but I know that, I feel anyway, that that's a majority of their inventory goes in and out of that door there. I think we'd be curtailing that business immensely if we were to not allow them to have deliveries and stuff in and out that.
Kathy Schmidt and then Kathy Horn.
I noticed the other day that they had a big semi pulled up there, but they've got the side that they could put the semi on the side and walk a little further and not cause an accident. I mean, it's very obvious to me that there's a way to work around it for them.
Kathy Horn?
Well, they know when their deliveries are gonna come. And there's times that there's nothing there. So why don't we get in touch with them, find out when their deliveries is, and then make no parking between the hours of the time that their deliveries are expected.
Tracy?
So I like where Alderman Schmidt was going with this, and that the side of the building, as you can see in the picture, cars are parking there already. Well, they could even do it on this road as well, because we do that for the rental store and on Broadway. They have designated spots to take deliveries and drop-offs as well, and I think we could likely accommodate them with that as an option as well.
The other side of their building, they also have that, correct? Is that?
That's what I was
Could those vehicles
It's
turn
not.
into that tight spot, though?
Clinton Street is the only access they have.
It is, okay.
They do not own the property to the north of it, no.
Okay.
What about the alley, Mr. Lander?
I believe we've had this discussion before, and we've had this discussion with the A&A before. There's already no parking signs in that block, so it's already no parking. And we gave them an option of Clinton Street or the alley in the past, and nothing was never acted on.
So there is currently no parking signs on
There
Logan?
is a no parking sign just past the building on that side of the road.
Sounds like an enforcement issue, then we'll just have to be diligent about.
And I agree myself at witnessing it. When they parked that semi there, they even got to the point where they're putting cones out. And they're pushing traffic, westbound traffic on Fifth Street onto Logan, that's pushing that traffic into the other lane. So they're actually having to almost cross over the center line to get around the equipment park. So, and we can sit back and talk about the business and how we affect the business and everything else, but how long do we wait? Do we wait until somebody gets killed or hurt seriously before we act on this? That's my opinion on it.
This shaded area on your picture, if I'm not mistaken, are designated parking spots. Am I correct in saying that, Walt?
I don't know about designated, but if you go to the driveway that you see just north of the building.
Correct.
There's a no parking sign right there. Now, whether that's effective for the whole block, I'm not sure, but as far as I know, there's nothing designated. And again, that's a state route too.
Correct.
So takeaways from this then is that if the deputy chief and chief don't mind having a follow-up conversation with the church?
Not at all.
And also, who will have the conversation with AAA? Well, I'll be glad to, since I brought this topic up, but I think we should. Okay, Catherine, is there any objections with the council?
I'd like Walt to look at IDOT to see if anything needs done, with them.
You don't think that'll affect the school traffic at all, going to and from the school? I'm just asking, should we also
Talking
talk?
about the blocking of,
Carroll Catholic.
and you're talking about blocking off that
Yeah, I'm just thinking we should talk to them as well, just so
School?
everyone's, yeah, so everyone's, because there is traffic for that as well.
Yeah, I think
So-
in my observations, some people that go to Carroll, and we will definitely have that conversation, but I think people that go to Carroll are intentionally avoiding that intersection because of that safety issue and are actually doing, as Alderman Horn said, and going an additional block.
Yeah, I don't think,
Back way.
it's definitely not used a lot, I just think we want to make sure everyone's aware of the topic.
Yeah, Catherine and I will get with the chief and deputy chief and figure out who's gonna talk to who, and then we'll bring it back to the council on a future CAL.
Very good. Okay, thank you both.
Thank you.
Solar energy panels RFP, Sean?
Any questions?
I just showed up in case there were any questions to the RFP that we wrote and was ready to send out. If there's no questions, we'll update the dates and start notifying people to get some proposals in.
Go for it. Beth has a question.
No.
We are sending them out tomorrow, correct? Or when, how soon?
We'll get them out by the end of the week. We'll change the dates and get them out so that they,
They'll be back due.
yeah, we'll change all the dates to match exactly what we got in with, like, Friday's date.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Conzo.
Doesn't that have to be put on the agenda before you voted on? before-
Yes, it needs to be on the agenda first. But
For
I'm
going
sorry
out
about
for,
that. It needs
for
to be
going
on-
out for bids, correct?
We're going out for requests for proposals.
That's
not
what this
awarding anything.
agenda item is.
Yeah, we need to have it on the agenda. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean,
So it won't go out yet.
So we'll vote on it next week, and then if it's approved, then they can go out.
Right, so we'll put Tuesday's dates and move forward, and somebody will notify me, and we'll get them released if it's voted through. How's that?
Sounds good. Okay, this will be on the regular agenda for next week. Area disposal topic. Mr. Woodhall, do you discuss that, or?
Well, essentially, the area, I guess, was contacted by, or vice versa, with a couple aldermen who had conversations that they were in the rears on payments to them from customers who in turn were violating the mandate that was put in place by the last council. So we've been sending notice of violation to these customers at this point. As of Monday, was somewhere over 300.
how many were there?
Somewhere over, a little over 300, I believe.
300 letters you sent out.
Not totally yet.
You're going to.
They'll be out by late tomorrow, all of them.
Okay.
There's a handful that areas sending us that are deceased in jail, have been vacant for some amount of time, so those that we know of for sure we're not going to send out because we know they're not going to need or have service at those residences.
Thank you.
Questions, discussion? No? Okay. Oh, Mr. Parrott.
Quick question. So we have to have so many paying customers, right? So if we don't have 300 paying, are we below that threshold?
Not yet. We're dangerously close. But, and I think I should follow up on what Wes said. So Alderman Bateman and I had a conversation with area. The conversation spawned from numerous complaints that we've been dealing with. And that's typically how these conversations with them go, is that problems arise, lack of action, and then we have these meetings. In this particular meeting, the Coulters, Jeff and Matt were there. Their father, who owns the company, also came down for this meeting. He's never done that before. We were having a discussion about the issues that we saw and expressing our sincere disappointment in how customer service has tanked. And if I could speak on behalf of Kevin, and he's not here, so I will. Kevin basically told the owner of the company that when you started this service, you were at a level 5. On a scale of 5, you're now at possibly, if even that, a level 2. It's almost like your service has gone down. And so through that course of dialogue, they had some takeaway items that they've already started working on and addressing. They've had staff changes. They have addressed some of the more severe complaints they've had. But this particular topic that Wes is talking about came up. And in that conversation, we realized that although we have an ordinance in place, we're not sending any letters out when people violate the ordinance, which basically has created a loophole, right? So if you didn't want trash, it's okay, you just run up a balance with area disposal. Good luck on them collecting, and we're never sending out an ordinance violation, so now you're right back where you wanted to be. So going to your question about the 4,000, that's why, or the 4,400. So we've allowed these, I think it's 300 plus, and Wes is right. Some of these are deceased people, vacant houses, but some of them are just people that aren't paying their bills. We didn't want to hammer all these people with ordinance violations. We also had conversations with Mr. Hoblet about congesting the court system with 300 cases on a docket, which would not be favored well with the judges, and probably get some negative feedback to Mr. Hoblet. So what we decided was Wes's office, I think he's way ahead of what we had anticipated, but Wes's office would take the next, 60 days or so, I think we agreed to, or 90 days, and send these letters out to all these individuals. We would get as much progress done on them as we could, and then after a certain period of time, we'll have another follow-up discussion, then we'll start sending them through the system. So we're trying to actually not flood the court system with these issues, but get them addressed in a timely manner. And so the letter Wes sent out was not the standard ordinance violation letter. It was a letter that was custom tailored to this situation, correct? And it gave them instructions on not to call us, but to call Area Disposal, to bring your account current, and then provide proof that your account is current to Wes's office so that you're no longer on the list.
Kathy Schmidt and then Steve.
I was thinking today about it, why couldn't you put their names in the paper when they don't pay? If they're not paying, I mean, a lot of times that works.
Well, the problem with that is that, and city administrator brought that same question up at our meeting, because that list of names no longer belongs to us because we're not doing billing, they belong to Area Disposal, we're violating their privacy by publishing their names. So.
So if you send out, you fine them, right, for being delinquent on their bill?
Area is adding fines to their current balance. We haven't yet.
But we could as a city, right? No?
We could, but those fines will be incurred once it goes through the court system.
So that's my question. So it has to go to the court system first before you can fine them?
Yes. So this effort that we're taking initially is to encourage them to bring their accounts current without further penalties or fines. And a byproduct is not congesting the court system.
So I haven't looked, we'd have to look at the ordinance again, I guess, as to, is there something in the ordinance that says that if they're not current, because it jeopardizes the city, right? I mean, we put this together as a council, as a whole, requiring trash service. And so if they're not doing it, and if we get below that threshold, then the city has to pick up the cost, right?
So if they get below that threshold, they can come back to us and renegotiate those monthly rates.
So it's not really the city, it's the remaining customers.
Correct. And the flip side to this is that by us not enforcing the ordinance, the question was brought up in our discussions as to whether we're violating our own agreement by not doing so.
I'd say we are.
I would agree. So.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the golf carts and all that on the streets, that's exactly what I was talking about. If we have an ordinance and we have, that they're not to do this and they're not to do that, and it's been brought up like this is a third thing that's been brought up that maybe we're not, doing something with the ordinances and the rules, laws we have.
So you bring up a very good point, and I actually appreciate the questions you're asking because we thought of the same thing, so it means we're all on the same page here. There was some, I think I will just put it this way. There was some misunderstandings about how to pursue these particular ordinance violations that did stem back from congesting the court dockets. Now that we've realized that this is an issue, we had a conversation with Wes. We also had a conversation with Mr. Hoblet, and the plan that Wes is implementing was a compromised solution to get the issues corrected, hopefully, without making Mr. Hoblet's job even more difficult than it already is.
Steve.
Just a quick question. I'm kind of a little taken back that it's come to this meeting to discuss this, I guess, as far as solutions, rather than the council being a part of the solution as well, too, for these discussions.
We can certainly open that up for discussion if you guys would like. The way that we looked at it was, and I assure you, Alderman Bateman and I meant no disrespect to the council. The way that we looked at it was, these are ordinance violations, and so all we would be doing is bringing a ordinance violation to the council, asking how to address them. And so we tried to implement a solution that would get the ordinances addressed appropriately, but you're correct.
Other discussion or questions?
Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Update on Fish Street Road, Beth?
We're moving right along. We've got some of the works, one signed. We now have 2 parcels we don't need. One, we possibly don't have to go further with something that we've already discussed with them. So, and another one totally that we have started executing with them. Do not have to do that as well because of taking the bike path out. So it's moving along. I hope to have my Gantt chart ready for you by next week. It changes daily, Alderman Parrott. I'm sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Under announcements, I know Beth has some Comcast announcements.
Real quick, we're going to lose some channels as of December 10th. We're going to move Stars Edge. All the stars are going to be gone. We are going to get Espanol Canal de Drama coming in, and that will be effective October 29th.
All right, Mr. Conzo.
Yeah, just one comment on that. I don't know if they ever advised you of this, City Administrator, but last week, Turner Classic Movies and Turner Classic Movies HD abruptly disappeared from the channel lineup. I was trying to tune into a Barbara Stanwyck movie at 11 at night, and it was not there, and it said, go to Xfinity.com and sign up for a more expensive package.
I will address that with her tomorrow.
Great, thank you so much for your attention to Comcast. Mr. Conzo.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one more thing that I would ask the council to put on the agenda. As you know, Fire Chief Mark Miller retired as fire chief, and at the same time he retired as the president and trustee on the Firefighters Pension Board. As a result of that, Assistant Fire Chief Ben Rowland was unanimously selected by the Pension Board to serve as the president of that board. And he's been on the board for 7 or 8 years, I guess now, but he's now the president of that board. What we would need is a resolution authorizing signature authority for him as president of the board. Each pension, both the police and fire pension board require 2 signatures on investments and other transactions. Currently, there's only 1 person. We need to have 2 people authorized for that, and would ask that you put that resolution on the next agenda.
Regular agenda. Okay. Also, Nyla, correct me if I'm wrong, ribbon cut tomorrow, 9 a.m. at Comfort Inn, and it's the rebranding, right? And they're serving breakfast to people that come? Okay, so 9 a.m., so anyone that can be out there, please do. Kathy Schmidt and then Beth.
I want to go back to the Comcast. What's going on with Comcast?
We corresponded today by email, and we're going to talk tomorrow. We'll see where we're at. I asked them about the term agreement. I'll have some more questions for her.
So you really haven't heard anything else?
No, not as of leaving tonight. I didn't have a response. I want to remind everyone we have a 10 a.m. Insurance Employees Management Insurance Advisory meeting tomorrow. We were going to try to move that to 2 o'clock. It's not going to work out, so it has to be at 10 a.m. tomorrow in the mayor's office.
Tracy.
And Saturday, do you want to You want to mention briefly Trick or Treat with the Mayor?
So Saturday, we have Trick or Treat with the Mayor, which will meet at Latham Park between 9 and 10. Registration starts at 9. The event will start at 10. And then, Bob, do you want to explain what happens after that?
EMA is hosting a show and tell, starting at 10 o'clock, going till 2. I believe they're going to be cooking hot dogs and whatnot during the day. The show and tell is to show off their trailers, the Logan County Rescue Boat. Truck 5103 is going to be out there. We're going to set up the big Mavis tent, which is the mutual aid box alarm system. We have equipment that comes from them, like four-wheelers, the light tower used for the balloon glow. That type of equipment is available to us. So by setting the stuff up and taking it down, we get credit for training on it, which also affords us opportunity to go on deployments with the equipment. And I'm trying to think if they're also bringing a helicopter in. So after Trick or Treat with the Mayor, another good opportunity to find other things to do with your kids, not just your kids, but anybody that wants to come out.
Yeah, we're actually splitting the groups. We're splitting the Trick or Treat up into 4 groups this year so people aren't so congested. So they'll be going different directions and then meeting at the same point at the end. So it'll go a lot smoother this year as well. Kathy Schmidt?
How many kids did you have last year?
Oh, close to
375.
350 and 400. It's a lot of kids.
Wow.
The businesses ran out of candy and
So I know we did a whole gob.
right.
How big are the groups that you bring in?
We'll split them into 4, so probably 75 to 100 per group.
At a time?
Hmm. And they all come within usually 30 minutes. So that was a problem last year. Is we had a long line down the street, and we're trying to change that this year. So, yeah. So there's gaps, but I think there's 24 to 26 businesses participating. So there'll be a lot of stops. I see another hand. Any other announcements? No. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move. Second.
Mr. Keller made the motion. Mr. Welch seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 8:48 p.m. Thank you.
I know I should have. If I'd have known that. If I'd have known I had that.